Hi, I'm just here to talk about day 7. I chose that for my final. I found that one to have a little bit of more talking points to be able to do the assignment properly. So I guess I'm going to start off by talking about the first 3 questions that we were asked about reintegration, reentry, and transition. Reintegration is the process of integrating somebody back into society as a valuable member with an opportunity to succeed. When somebody is in prison for a long time, going from prison to society can be a very rough transfer and transition. And so it's our job to help, reintegrate them slowly and in a process that they can easily handle, and if they're overwhelmed, that could be a big issue, and that's where we probably see a lot of the parole violations. Re-entry into society is the way we can transition them into society from being incarcerated to going back into their communities, whether that's easier housing opportunities, specific therapy opportunities. So the re-entry is that process. And then the transition is when they are changing from one state of mind to another, when they're changing their aspect of life from prison life to society and their communities, transferring roles from one specific role to another specific role. Another thing I'd like to explain is the re-entry models. There's so many different ways that we can have a prisoner that's on parole be re-entered into society, and we can do that by specific therapy programs, whether it's drug counseling, abuse counseling, trauma counseling, making sure they have somewhere to live and making sure they have a job. So holding people accountable for their actions is also another really good way that we can see somebody succeed after life in prison. Evidence-based practices are things that we have looked for a long time and studied, and specific stats and data has shown us what works, what doesn't work. How can we change this? Is there anything that we're doing wrong? Are there specific trends that we see going up or down that we need to focus on and really divert some energy into? And it allows us to move forward with the process and see the changes that we want to see if we see one thing not working. Okay, well, what about it didn't work? And it just allows us to, really do better as a whole as we continue this process. I feel like parolees have a lot of challenges that they're going to face as soon as they are out of prison because, again, it's the transition of the mind, but also, prison doesn't prepare you to go back into society. So they're going to have a lot of challenges, whether it's social, economical, anything. I believe social, they're going to, have a hard time finding friends again or finding a job because not many people are going to give a job to parolees. It's really hard to want to hire a felon, so I believe they're already, starting the race late. I also believe that economically, the jobs that they are going to get are not going to be high-dollar, top-paying jobs, and it's going to be hard for them to make ends meet. So, just right out the gate, I feel like parolees are going to have this stigma attached to them, and it's going to be really hard for them to be able to live the life that they know that they want, given the start that they're going to get. Other challenges could be just finding ways to live and cope with certain aspects and not resorting back to, crime. I read a book a couple semesters ago, it's called New Jack, and the prisoner was explaining to the CEO New Jack about, how hard it is to leave and come back because the only way for them to get ahead is to commit more crimes. They're not going to have enough money with this job that they may or may not get because they're a felon, so what are they going to do to survive, to pay for their house that their parolee is making them pay for? To steal. So it's really just a never-ending cycle, and I believe that, there's got to be something that we can do to help train them inside of the prison to be a little bit more effective on the outside of prison. Parole officers have a lot of jobs and responsibilities, and it's not a 9 to 5 job. They're going to be doing random house visits and making sure that these people, are clean. They're not using drugs. They're not, abusing alcohol. They are where they say they're going to be. Checking in with the job and making sure that these people are showing up on time and doing the right work that they're supposed to be doing. Parole officers also have to report back to a judge and tell them, what's going on. If they notice any problems, talk to their therapist if, the therapist has any recommendations. Not to mention all the paperwork that goes into a parole officer's job. Case management can be very complicated, and nobody likes the paperwork, but I feel like paperwork is a good way to track your progress. If there's any issues with your parolee, you're able to jot it down from the therapist. So the therapist will write the parolee and the parole officer, and then the parole officer will talk to the parolee, and maybe the judge will be involved. So as complicated as it may get, and a spiderweb effect, it's not just the parole officer and the parolee. There's going to be a lot of other people that are trying to help this person succeed. Sorry. And then finally, for my logbook today in day 7, I would write about who the parole board met with, who they talked to, what inmates, I think would be a good fit to do this, what the judge said, what inmates would succeed, would not succeed, and, what our future steps were for who is going to be put out on parole. Thank you, and that is all I have for you. Thank you.